All right, looks like we are live. So thank you everyone for coming in. Today, it's Saturday. We're at noon o'clock right now. We got a couple things to cover, obviously. Things we're going to look at is Mawson provided their numbers yesterday. We'll look at those relatively quickly there. And we'll also take a look at as far as the Bitcoin miners network hash rate percentage. What is the percentage of the network hash rate? Has it gone up? Has it gone down in January? Look at those numbers, and we'll also take a look at Bitcoin versus Bitcoin miners this past week. A lot of the miners did a lot better than Bitcoin. Some did worse. We'll get into all the numbers there, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So it should be pretty easy here. So as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you guys obviously enjoy this type of content, hit like button, subscribe. And then also if there's any corrections that I need to make eventually, sometimes I do make a mistake, that will be posted here obviously on Discord, YouTube, in the YouTube, not comments, but well, comments and the community posts, and then on Twitter as well, so that you guys will have access to all that. But let's take a quick look here at what's going on with the markets here. Bitcoin's down actually here today over the weekend, which is fine. I'm okay with it going down on the weekend. I don't want it to be popping on the weekends and have the the CME futures gaps out there. So that's fine. We're coming down a little bit here. I think people are just selling a little bit. We've gone up quite a bit here, which is fine. Bitcoin's right now trading at 51,190. We're down about 1.85%, not a big deal there. We also have the markets closed on Monday, I believe, because of the President's holiday. So we won't have a trading day on Monday, so we'll see what happens over that. But obviously, Bitcoin's going to continue trading here. And then the miners were down quite a bit on Friday. Yesterday, we didn't cover it because I was doing the Twitter Spaces yesterday. That was like 3.5 hours long. That was a lot of fun. We had on there Taylor from Cleanspark talking about all their operations, their sites and all that stuff. So that was a lot of fun. If you guys caught that, that was fun there. We'll maybe do another one here next weekend on Sunday with the Bitcoin stock mining guy. We'll do that again. That should be fun. But overall, I mean, you can see here the miners were down for the most part. Some were down more than others. A couple were actually up on yesterday. Bitfarms, Cleanspark, CORZ, DMGHI was up. Mawson was bouncing yesterday a little bit to 14%. Wolf was up. But it's kind of a mixed bag as far as the miners are concerned. So not a big deal there. We needed a little bit of a pullback. We've gone up quite heavily here recently, so I'm okay with it. Let me know what you guys think of that. But that is it for it. Let's get into Mawson here really quick. Mawson, as you guys know, is one of the miners that I've stated as potentially being in trouble when it comes to the halving event. They have only like a month or two of cash as of Q3 results, so we're waiting on Q4 results for them to see if that has improved at all. We'll obviously cover that when it does happen, but they're definitely one of the smaller miners that might be in trouble when the halving does come around, unless Bitcoin starts going up to like 65, 70,000 or potentially higher for some of these guys here to make it. Okay, but here's what we have for them for January numbers. So total monthly revenue of about 7.06 million, or about the equivalent of 174 BTC. That's not what they actually have for their soft mining. This includes energy credits or energy revenue, along with their hosting revenue from that as well. And part of it is all for their self mining. So we'll look at the numbers for that. Let's see here. They reported more than 3x growth from January 2023 in total overall revenue and about 18% month-over-month revenue. So that's good. They've been getting some more hosting customers added in there, so that's helping them out a little bit. And then their energy management business revenue was 2.2 million. Co-location business was 2.78 million, and self-mining revenue was 2.08 million. So, I mean, their self-mining revenue was the smallest portion of all the revenue that they had here, which is obviously concerning there. Excuse me. We'll have to obviously see what their margins are like on the hosting side of things and what their margins are on the energy management business side of things. So energy management, I would think, would be a little bit better margins than the hosting. And then obviously the self-mining, we'll have to see how that all plays out when they report Q4 results. See here, they expanded their co-location customer base and have now signed 3 new customers since the start of Q4 2023. So that's good there. That's helping them out. And then total power capacity was approximately 109 megawatts with capacity for approximately 35,650 miners, which is fine. They're definitely one of the smaller miners that we track here as far as their own self-mining is concerned. So if we look at the numbers here for Mawson, this is the latest information that we do have on them. Their market cap is around 30 million based on the shares outstanding that they reported at the end of Q3. And then you can see here their performance here over the last 12 weeks hasn't been that great. They pumped really hard here early on. They were like one of the leading stocks that have outperformed like Marathon, Cleanspark, others. They were just being, I think, manipulated really badly, or to some people's advantage. But there was really no fundamental reasons why it was pumping other than being manipulated. So it's now only 90% up from 12 weeks ago. It's down 44% from 8 weeks ago. It's down 26% from 4 weeks ago. And it's down 34% from last week. So it's obviously having a pullback there where people are getting out of it and getting maybe into some of the other miners that are more attractive looking as far as performance goes, uptime, all those things, better, healthier balance sheets, all those things here. Current hash rate about 1.5 exahash, future hash rate about 1.8. They're pretty much close to being fully installed. They didn't report their exahash this time around. They didn't report what their BTC hodl was, if they hodl anything, which I don't think they do. But I wish they would provide better granular details on their different businesses and separate it all out instead of putting it all in, and it makes it more difficult on you guys, on me, to try to figure out what is going on with them. But I got them here for the month of January. Their BTC came in at about 48.47. That is based on the revenue that they reported. So I just kind of used those numbers divided by the average network Bitcoin, average Bitcoin price for January. And that's kind of how I came up with 48.47, along with additional 10% added into it for the Bitcoin transaction fees or so. Okay, so that's how that stacks up. And you can see the month over month difference. BTC mined, BTC hodl, they don't have anything. BTC per exahash efficiency, they're way down for this month for some reason, 32.56. BTC per exahash, so they're way below everybody else. And it could be because of the miners that they have, some of the older ones. We'll look at that here shortly. BTC sold, looks like they sell pretty much everything, I'm guessing. That's probably more than that. They reported 170 some BTC, right? Or was it 174 BTC? So they probably sold all that. I'm just counting what they had for self-mining here. Hash rate, you can see, has been flat. Revenue has been kind of up and down. The best month was in December, where we had a lot of transaction fees being added to it as well. And then we're back down here in January. Then scrolling down here, you can see the hash rate difference month over month, BTC sold value, how much they sold. They sell everything. If we look at their balance sheet here, as of Q3 numbers, right, we're looking at debt to equity is kind of high, 1.14. We want that to be lower, below 1. Current ratio, we want that to be above 1. It's actually below that, it's at 0.29. And we can see that total current assets at the end of Q3 was 13.65 million. And their total current liabilities was 46.63 million. That's why I'm saying that they're kind of in trouble as far as when the halving comes around. We'll see if they can pay those liabilities that they do have here coming up. Or hopefully we'll get some updated numbers when they provide it on Q4. But looking here for the month of January, as far as their operations and uptime was, you can see that the miners that they do have here are some of the older ones, the 90 terahash miners, the 85 terahash miners, and they haven't gotten anything new. So that's one of the other reasons why I'm saying that they might be in trouble heading into the halving event. Because depending on where Bitcoin price is, network hash rate, all that, that's going to contribute to them either being profitable or not profitable mining at that point. And at that point, they might be shutting those operations down, and maybe they're going to be switching over completely to hosting. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe at that point there might be some benefit to doing that. Looking at January numbers here, I had them mining for approximately 16.7 days out of the month. So almost, what was that going to be? That's almost half of the month where they were not operating, based on the numbers that we have here. And I added 208,000 in Bitcoin network transaction fees to it. That got us to the 2.08 million in revenue. So obviously not good here. They were much better operating in December, 25 months roughly, or 25 days. So that's why I'm saying it's not good. I'm guessing it's mainly because of these miners here, older generation miners. Maybe it just doesn't make sense for them to mine on certain days, and that's why they're getting the more in power credits or the power generation side of things on that part. Okay, let's see here. I think that is it. Based on that, and when we look up here for the institution side of things, we can see here that institutions did increase a little bit to 21. We had also shares, actually, it should be 1.42 million, I believe, yeah. But I forgot to put a 0 there because it actually increased a little bit here. So that's 8.51%. We still have the one buy rating, one hold rating, price target of $3 for the high, $2 for the average, $1 for the low. And then if we scroll up here, looking at the next 12 months, which we're using the data from basically January numbers as far as revenue is concerned for self-mining, multiplying it times the 2 months before the halving event, and then the 10 months after the halving event at 50%, we're looking at somewhere between $2.19 and $3.28, which is kind of in line with what the analysts are looking there. And if we were looking at the historical data, which now includes obviously this current quarter that we're in, and then the last 3 quarters, we're looking at $3.82 to $5.73. By that, they look undervalued, but based on their performance as far as self-mining is concerned, their current balance sheet doesn't look healthy. I think they are where they are right now, and probably even this might be a little high for them, so they might be even coming down even more coming up here. But like I said, the stock seems to be like it's being manipulated here a little bit right now, or in the past at least it was. Okay, so that is it. Let me know what you guys think of Mawson, and let's get into the network comparison to the Bitcoin miners here as far as hash rate is concerned. So if we pull that sheet up here, which should be, I got a lot of sheets. There it is. BTC hash rate comparison. Okay, so on this one, we're looking at the 12, well, basically we're looking at the 24 months roughly that I have data on. The network hash rate, the Bitcoin miners as far as where they were. And we can see that the network hash rate for Bitcoin has continued to steadily increase over time. Obviously, we had a huge increase in last year where we went basically 100% an increase, which was definitely a wild, didn't expect that one to happen, but it did happen. So you can see here from January, we're at 275, and then we finished out basically January, we're double pretty much that from that point. So, or if you look at December to December, we're up much higher. Okay, 100%. And then we've had a nice increase here again in network hash rate to 523, and this is based on the 30-day average for it. And you can see the miners here that I track at least, we have them at 123 exahash combined for all of them, and that increased a little bit here. So for the month, we're looking at month-over-month increases. The month-over-month increase for January for the network hash rate was 18.4 exahash. The miners that we track only added about 2.9 exahash to that, based on this information that we have here. And then as far as public Bitcoin miners' percentage of Bitcoin network hash rate, that is at 23.7%. We peaked in July of last year with 26.9% of the network hash rate being owned by the miners that we track. That has been coming down steadily here. And I'm guessing it'll probably pick back up once we start getting like Marathon getting to 30 exahash, Cleanspark getting to 30 exahash, Riot, all those guys. I think they might start picking up a little bit here as we get those machines getting installed this year potentially, but we'll see. Because we have gone up and down before on this as well. So kind of interesting to take a look at that. Month-over-month percentage increase here. This was 3.3% increase on the machines or the miners for themselves, how much they increased that one. And you can see all the other ones here as well. And then when we look at the individual miners themselves, as far as what was their percentage of the network hash rate the month prior and this month, we can see here that majority of the miners actually lost percentage share of the network. There was only a couple that actually increased their share percentage. So the ones that increased was CORZ. Obviously, CORZ installed quite a bit of miners, about 1.5 exahash. That helped them out. TeraWolf also increased quite a bit there. That helped them out. And then Iris as well. So they kind of beat it as well. But everybody else, for the most part, if you're seeing blue on here, that was the previous month. The greenish bars are basically this month. So you can see all the ones that have basically lost share in the network hash rate because they're just not keeping up with it right now. Okay. So that is that one. And we'll get into next is just the Bitcoin versus Bitcoin miners this past week, see how they did. So when we look at that sheet, it's over here on the weekly. On the first chart, we look at how far the miners have come up from their 52-week lows, and then also how far away they are from their 52-week highs, right? So the blue lines, blue bars are the 52-week lows to the current prices. And you can see here, Cleanspark obviously outperforming everybody here right now, up 777% in that time span. So whenever their 52-week low was from there at that point to now, had you bought back then, you'd be up 776%. So really good gains there. Bitfarms up 430%. Marathon up 425. Then you got TeraWolf 361. Mawson, like I said, was prior to the last couple of weeks was like the top one. It was up like 400, 500%, something like that, even higher. So that's coming back down. So that's 316, 290 for Sphere. Also one of those that's getting manipulated, I believe, because there's really no reason for it to be up that high. Especially when you got like Riot up only 218%, then you got Digital 216, Iris 208, Cypher 200, DMG 195, and so on. So on, Bitcoin's up 165% from that point, and you got these guys here that are lagging behind Bitcoin, which are Bitdeer, Digihost, Hive, CORZ, and Hut 8. Hut 8, obviously, we know has had issues, and with new management, there's some doubts as far as how well they can perform, or at least on the self-mining side of things. But we'll see how that does. And then you can see here that how far away the miners are from their 52-week highs. Bitfarms really close to being close to their 52-week high, along with Cleanspark at only 7% away. They reached that this week. And then we got Bitcoin only 1.2% away from that right now. Okay, and then you got Mawson 59% away from it. Hut 62% the most here, followed by who else is going to be here? Bitdeer 53% on it as it looks right now. Okay, going to the weekly performance here really quick. We'll get through this. You can see that this past week, Bitcoin was up 11%, while the following miners were below that: DMG, Argo, Hut, BitDigital, CORZ, Sphere 3D, Digihost, Bitdeer, and Mawson being down 34% the most here. The one that did the best was actually Bitfarms, was up 33% this week. Cleanspark was up 28, Hive was up 22, Iris 15, TeraWolf, and so on, have done better than Bitcoin this past week. Now, if we look at the 4-week chart, we can see that Cleanspark here comes out as king. It's up 123% from 4 weeks ago, so had you bought back then, you'd be doing really well. Mawson again is down 26%, and then you got Iris up 59%, Bitfarms up 55, excuse me, Marathon up 51%. So definitely some of these stocks are pumping more in the last 4 weeks. Looking at 8 weeks out, you start seeing that we have more miners that are in the red. And if we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's up 24% from 8 weeks ago, and you got a bunch of miners that are in the red here. You got Mawson, Bitdeer, Digihost, Sphere 3D, BitDigital, Hut 8, Argo, Cypher, Iris, Hive, right? And the only ones that are up is Bitfarms 24%, Cleanspark up 62%, TeraWolf up slightly 4%, same with Riot, Marathon 15%, and then DMG is up 9% on it. And then going back out to 12 weeks, that's when we had kind of the highs here for some of these guys, and we went back up and we went back down. So it's kind of tricky, but you can see Sphere 3D is up 179% from 12 weeks ago. That one, who else? Mawson up 90%. You got Cleanspark up 134%. Bitfarms up 117. Argo up 104. Bitcoin at that point is only up 35%. So we are seeing a lot of these miners where they are acting as leverage play on Bitcoin, which is nice to see. And we'll leave it at that. So it's been pretty wild ride here in the last 12 weeks, 24 weeks, right? The past year has been kind of wild ride with Bitcoin going up and miners going up and then down and recovering and things like that. But if we look at the table here as far as each week has been concerned, we can see that we're starting to see a little bit more green here on the weekly, or at least in the recent ones. We've seen basically 3 out of the last 4 weeks being in the green, which is nice to see. And then we got a bunch of red here that we've seen, obviously, and then we've had green again. So we're kind of maybe getting back into a green, more bullish phase in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners here, at least for the next couple of weeks, but we'll see how it goes on it. Okay. So that is it. As always, you guys know this drill. Access to my spreadsheets are available through my Patreons. Patreons also get access to my Discord channel, which everybody has access to over there. And that's all for now, I think $8 a month. If you pay for the full year, you get 10% discount. And we'll leave it at that. And let's get into some of your guys' Q&A questions. And we'll call it pretty much a day here. So won't waste you guys too much time on it all. So if you guys have any questions, obviously put the questions in big capital letters, and we'll get through this. So I'm going to try to look through some of these comments that we have here. So if you have any questions that you guys want answered. Let me see here. Sometimes my comments lag a little bit behind what you guys are actually stating here. So I'm looking to see if there's any comments coming in here. Okay. So we got Raymond asks, your top 3 miners with highest upside potential. I think still, I mean, Cleanspark's gone up quite a bit here. So maybe Bitfarms, Iris Energy, and who else? I mean, Riot's kind of lagging right now too, but Riot's lagging for obvious reasons. So I would still think that Cleanspark, Bitfarms, Iris Energy, Marathon, and Riot would be like the top ones there. And then you could also add into it as well Cypher and Wolf potentially as well. And then CORZ Scientific, but CORZ out of bankruptcy. So we'll have to see how they do at least for a quarter or two before I think people start buying back into that one. So those are kind of the ones I would be looking at. Okay, let's see here. Question. Okay. Thoughts in future Iris dilution? I think they're going to dilute some more. They're going to have to, especially as they build out their facilities and things like that, buy more miners. So I think that's going to be happening regardless. We've seen pretty big dilution here recently. And I would imagine we're going to probably see that a little bit more. We're going to see that with some of the miners as well. So not a big deal. As long as they're growing, I'm okay with that. Let's see here. Okay, good question here. When can the rest of the miners use the new accounting rules for the reportings for the BTC? So they can start using that, I believe, in their fiscal year 2024 numbers. So a lot of the guys are still reporting their fiscal year 2023 numbers with Q4. After that, I believe the first quarter of 2024, they're going to be able to use those accounting rules in it. That's my understanding of it, at least. Let's see here. Okay, if you had any extra capital to spend, which miner would you add to your position to start it or start a new one? Boy, I'm pretty heavy, as you guys know, already in Cleanspark and Bitfarms. I would like to probably add more into Bitfarms if I could. Also Iris Energy. And then after that, I would probably start looking into maybe Cypher, CORZ, and like TeraWolf, potentially, are the ones I would possibly be looking into at that point. Let's see. Question, when do you think it'll make sense to stop DCing into these miners? I'm thinking to stop around halving time. That might not be a bad time. It all depends where the miners go, right? If the miners stay low and you think there's still 5x potential on some of these guys, maybe continue dollar cost average in. Yeah, you're probably buying at a maybe higher price, but you still have that potential where you still could get 2, 3, 4x on some of these guys here, especially as the price runs up on them. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. If I think I can still get like 5x or something like that, 4x on a miner, I will continue dollar cost average into it if I have the cash to do it. Let's see. Similar question here, more or less. What do you think about DCA into Bitfarms here? I think Bitfarms is still undervalued. They should be probably 2, 3x higher from where they are right now, just to be in comparison with other miners that are in the same kind of peer group. And then after that, I think they'll still do really well going forward, depending where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin goes up to 150,000, 200,000. Things are going to go up much higher from there as well. Let's see here. Do you think Iris Energy is now, or IREN, is now a good position to enter to expect huge profit in the future? Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin going up past the halving event usually is when we start seeing where the miners will possibly be more profitable, right? They're going to be obviously mining it at a much lower cost than what Bitcoin is at. So I think that's going to drive potentially profits for them. They don't hodl anything, so they can't use the new FASB rules, unfortunately, to pump up their earnings, I guess you could say, on that side of things. So we'll see. Let me see here. Here's just a comment. I think Core has the most upside, also carries the most risk, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, they're out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, so we need to see how they do for at least a quarter or two before people start getting into them, maybe at that point. Question, should I avoid BitDeer? BitDeer is wanky a little bit. The numbers that they provided for all the different business segments that they have, they're like above 50% profit margin, 50, 60% on some of these things, which typically hosting doesn't get, like 15, more than like 15, 20% profit margin at best, if you're doing really well at that point. So it's a little fishy there. They also didn't provide the cash balance sheet for their latest Q3 numbers, and then also the share statement. So how many shares are out, how much was added, how much was basically just a spreadsheet of that. So that wasn't added. So I was curious on that as well. So there's some things that just kind of don't add up with them. Also, they've I think their growth plans aren't until 2025 potentially. They're building out facilities and things like that, but they don't have any miner purchases until possibly into 2025. So they might be towards the peak of BTC rally at that point. Is 2 to 3x compared to Bitcoin all we can expect from the miners? No, I think that's just kind of like the average that you're kind of looking at, kind of the conservative numbers, right? But definitely some of these guys can get 5, 10x, if not more, depending where Bitcoin goes and how well they execute, how well they grow, and what their hash rate is at certain periods of time. So I think there's still more upside than just a 2 to 3x. Question here, thoughts on why Riot is lagging? Riot is lagging because of their performance, right? So a lot of people are harping on them because of, I mean, if you look at January's performance, they got, what was it, like 1 million or something like that in power credits and things like that. When if they actually mined, they could have made like 2 or 3 million in profit on it, right? So it's kind of like what's going on there for a bit. Then, so that's kind of why I think it's lagging right now. They just need to build out the facility they're building out right now, get miners in there, and hopefully things will be much better there. See. Okay, this is a long question here. For the FPE numbers, how did you see the numbers trading this cycle? If Bitcoin reaches 150,000, doesn't matter how quickly BTC moves. Riot already getting high with 22 forward PE. Thoughts on this? Last cycle, the miners were getting 40, 45, 50 PE. So yeah, it's going to happen still. I think there's still more upside to all these guys here. Let's see. Okay, so good question here. How can you back IREN at this point? The market spoke loud and clear with a 20% drop in 2 days. Cleanspark was up after earnings. Yeah, Cleanspark was up after earnings, but they provided a positive EPS. So that was why Cleanspark was up. Also with Iris Energy, right? We didn't know about the huge dilution that we saw, which we kind of figured was going to be happening, but we didn't think it was going to be that much. So I think that's the reason why the market reacted, because of the dilution there. But they have a much better, healthy balance sheet there. They can, they have plenty of cash on to expand to where they want to get to the 10 exahash and then forward onto the 20 exahash as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for future growth. And then also as far as their uptime, production, All those things are important to me. The cash balance sheet is healthy now. So that's kind of why I'm looking at them. Let's see here. Question, what do you think about DCing into Bitfarms, Wolf, Cypher here in this range? I think, so personally, not financial advice. I'll give you guys my story here. I've been dollar cost averaging into the miners since 2022 because I didn't know where the bottom is going to be. And I continue to dollar cost averaging. Prices went up, prices went down. I just kind of bought. All right, so that's kind of my take on it. If you're trying to swing trade these, you have to obviously use different methodology here. But for me, it doesn't matter where the price is. I know that after the halving, things will more than likely go up. So I don't care. I just dollar cost average in. I try to buy the dips. If the dips happen, that's kind of when I buy. Haven't been buying recently just because I don't have the cash to do it. Got to pay Uncle Sam and things like that. So I'm kind of keeping money on the sidelines right now. Let's see here. Do you think SDIG is a candidate to be acquired by another large mining company? Not really, right? Mainly because they have the power plants and then they're also doing the coal refuse thing, the remediation, carbon capture, things like that. So that's more of the business that they're in. And then Bitcoin is more of a side business for them than anything else, I think. So I don't think that one was going to be one that would be something that some miners would want to get into, right? They just want to get power, infrastructure, and that's it. They don't want to be a power producer. Let's see here. Will we see a big dump after the bear market? Well, after you mean the halving, probably. Tough to say right now. With the spot Bitcoin ETF being out there, that's kind of driving demand and obviously adoption. That's increasing the price of Bitcoin. I don't know if we're going to see it. I mean, I was expecting things to come down this year, but they weren't based on the last halving cycle. So we're in a different era right now. Question here. DMG has just secured a favorable loan with halving coming up. Does it make sense to relocate into Bitfarms? Yeah, the DMG loan is backed by their BTC. So if Bitcoin goes down or something like that, for whatever reason, they might be in trouble there. They can also get called on a loan anytime they want. They did get pretty good rates on it though, however. And this is just to kind of shore them up in the short term, I think, to get them to be able to maybe survive the halving event. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. It's going to be tight. Let's see here. So do we know if Hot 8 is upgrading their machines? No. They are currently not. Based on what Asher stated, their new CEO, they are looking to use those machines that they have for as long as they can. Basically, what they're going to do is not downgrade them, but downcycle them, something like that. I'm forgetting what the terminology for it is, but basically, instead of running at 80 terahash a miner or 90 terahash a miner, they're going to basically underclock them. There we go. They're going to underclock the machines so they're more efficient. They're going to run them basically to the ground, but they haven't stated anything about buying any miners. And then Scott Richardson, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Okay, let's see here. A question here from MinerDoc. Do you expect hash rate to increase all the way into the halving? Are S17s still profitable at these prices? Could we have a 30% drop in hash rate? I do expect a drop in hash rate to maybe 15-20% of where it is come halving, as the older machines like the S17s and some of the ones that are like below 100 terahash might not be profitable at that point. But it also depends where Bitcoin goes. If Bitcoin goes up to 75,000 before then, but it doesn't really matter because they're going to be profitable at that point, so they're going to be running them. So it might be a little challenging there. So a nice dip in Bitcoin price, I think, would help to kind of get some of these older machines off the network, which is kind of like a cleansing event every time we have a halving event. And that way it gets rid of all the old crap that's out there and gets the network more efficient, I think. Okay. Let's see here. If you guys hear all the running, that's my boys running with the dog upstairs. Let's see here. Question. If BTC goes to 100K, what do you feel is a max level gain for miners 10x? Well, it's only 2x for Bitcoin from where it's at right now. So at that point, we're looking at maybe 3 to 5, 6x for the miners at this point, right? If we go above that, then you're looking at even more potentially at that point. Let's see here. Okay, question here. Thoughts on, is it Cypher that you're looking for, or is that a different stock company? I'm not sure on that one. Cypher. If you're talking about Cypher, Cypher's in a pretty good position now. All of the shares that were basically held by Bitfury have been given out to the shareholders of Bitfury. So that's, instead of having one entity having 75% of the company, it's now 100 plus entities or people having shares in Cypher. So I think that's a better play there. What do you think about Wolf paying off 22 million in combination with hash rate growth this year? Is it a safer play? Yeah, it's definitely become a safer play here, mainly because now the loan is only about 100 million left to pay off by the end of this year, which they will restructure, I believe, sometime probably after April. I'm guessing they stated they're going to pay down the debt even more in April. So I think that is a safer play there. But it's definitely better than where they were right now. Let's see. Question: are you holding through the halving? Do you expect it to go up or down on the day of the halving? I don't know what's going to happen on the day of the halving, unfortunately. Right now, I'm going to hold. I'm holding until probably the end of this year, early next year sometime. But we'll have to see where we think maybe Bitcoin's peaking at, right? So it's all varied on that. Let's see. Next question. I don't like the miners that jump on the AI train. I am missing out on big upside potential here. Yeah, I don't know about the miners on AI. I need to see some data as far as what the revenue is and what the profit margins are and that stuff. So I may be kind of on the sidelines on that one as well. Since you mentioned that BitTF has sketchy financials, could they get fined by the SEC? Yeah, I don't know what the rules are as far as what's needed to be reported in there. Do you need to report the cash balance sheets in there as well, or do you just need to report your quarterly results, revenue, profits, losses, and things like that? I don't know. That would be a good question to ask somebody that has some SEC knowledge on that. Let's see. Which miner has the lowest cost of mining? Well, we'll get to that data once we have the quarterly results for all the miners. We'll look at it, how things stack up at that point. Right now, we're looking at data that's 4 months out, some places 5 months out. So we're waiting on better data. Okay, which is a better investment, Bitcoin miners or Bitcoin ETF? I would say the Bitcoin miners are right now. Bitcoin ETFs track Bitcoin. So Bitcoin goes up 2x. Bitcoin ETFs are going to go up 2x more or less. Miners still can go 3, 4, 5, 6, 10x. So that's kind of where my head is on that. But it's definitely an easy way for people to get exposure to Bitcoin and going with the ETFs. Here's a good question. Do you know which miners Nancy Pelosi's in? No, I don't think she's in any of the miners. But if she starts buying miners, those are the ones that are going to do really well. Let's see here. Okay, what's your opinion of HUD 8? How will the ongoing lawsuit affect them? Are you talking about the shareholder, I think, class action lawsuit that's coming out, right? That people are trying to get to them. I don't know how that's going to play out or if that's going to even go through. The other lawsuits, I thought they got those figured out with Validus, with them buying out machines, everything else. So I think that's all taken care of there, or the facilities. But I'm not aware of any other lawsuits. Let me know if there's other lawsuits that I'm missing, maybe. Let's see, are Synergy going to purchase more miners or expand with stock sell? Both. They're going to obviously buy more machines. They need to buy more machines because they want to get to 20 exahash. And they're also going to sell stock as well because they're going to need to fund the operations. Well, not so much the operation, but more so the growth, the building out of the infrastructure and things like that. So we'll still see some dilution there, I think. Okay, have you heard about the left translated Bitcoin cycle theory? Do you think we will see this happen? No, never heard of it. So that's kind of new to me. I'll have to look that up. Let's see here. Miner Doc, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it, buddy. Let's see here. When HUD 8 comes out with their earnings, do you expect a big jump in price like Cleanspark did after replacing Bitcoin on the balance sheet now? HUD has almost 3 times Cleanspark. Yeah, so like I said before, I think they can't report it until they start reporting on the fiscal year 2004 numbers. Cleanspark was able to do that because their fiscal year ended in September, so they were able to use those numbers in the fiscal year 2024. Everybody else here, I think, is pretty much ending on December, right? Their fiscal year ends on December, so they would have to wait until basically the first quarter of 2024 to report that gain on Bitcoin on balance sheet. I believe that's the understanding that I have on it. Let's see, what else do we have here? Which miner is best prepared for the upcoming halving? A lot of the big guys, obviously Cleanspark, Marathon, Bitfarms, Iris Energy, Riot, Cypher, Wolf, potentially if they can get restructuring their debt. Core also, for the most part, they're pretty much debt free. So kind of the guys that have a good balance sheet, good growth ahead. I think those are going to be fine. What is your biggest position? It is in Cleanspark. That's basically 60%, 60 some plus percent of my overall portfolio. The other one is Bitfarms. That's like 30 some percent, 34%. And then we have like 2% in IREN, and then I have Rivian still like 3% in that. So that's kind of where I'm stacked right now. Do you think Bitfarms will reach $35 a cycle? If it does, that'd be great. I don't know if it can get there. That'd be basically, it'd be only what, a 10x from where it is right now? Yeah, might be possible. Right, Bitcoin goes up to 150, 200,000, something like that, and they grow nicely to the 12 exahash, then get to the 20 exahash they want to get to. It's definitely possible. Any thoughts on the letter from the Department of Energy sent out to the miners? Yeah, I think some of the miners might be, I don't want to say that they will be, but I think they might be discussing between themselves as far as if they want to fight it a little bit. I think it's overreaching as far as what they're asking for all the information. I think it should be just how much energy did you get? How much did you curtail? Why did you curtail? And then did it have any impact on, obviously, potentially the community around you, positively or negatively? Okay, that's all I think that really should ask. But they're asking for all the model numbers, basically the hash rate of each machine, how many of those they have. It's very overreaching, I think. What do you think about BlackRock buying mining companies? They're not going to do it. They don't want to get into that space. They're better off at investing in companies that are growing, like right now they're doing it, and then obviously selling, making huge profits. That's their game plan. They're not going to buy mining companies. They'll invest in them, but I don't think they're going to buy them. Do you have any other stocks too, or mostly own miners? Mostly own miners. The only other stock that I own right now is Rivian. Only hold 100 shares in that one. It's just a reminder for me, at least, that eventually I want to buy more of them. But possibly as they get closer to their R2 models that are going to be coming out, I think at that point they're going to be growing much better. So that's the only reason I'm really holding there. But it's a longer play here than Bitcoin. Bitcoin miners are just another year and a half play. And then after that, I may swap out into like Rivian, put a certain amount in that. We'll see where the miners go from there. Also, we'll track it and see how things play out. Let's see here. You already got to your goal of 10K. Yep, got that. Surpassed it. Bitfarms, I'm above my goal too. So I'm happy with my positions where I'm at right now. I mean, I'm up 400% on Cleanspark right now if I sold today, but I'm not selling anytime soon. I'm still holding off until later on this year, early next year sometime. Let's see. So we already covered this, right? The new accounting rule for Hut 8. They can't report the new accounting rule, I believe, until Q1 results for 2024. All right, I think that is it that we see here. We've gone a little long here on the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, hit the like button, subscribe. Obviously helps me out. Hitting the like button definitely helps the most here. And then we'll see what happens over the weekend. Not much probably. I'm going to be gone the rest of the weekend, returning back on Monday, spending some time with the family. And then we'll get into, obviously, the swing of things again on either Monday night or we'll get into it on Tuesday. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Spend the time with your family. Enjoy it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.